Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. Today's topic, the destructive N word, destroyer of minds. Again, today's topic is the destructive N word, destroyer of minds. Because that's exactly what it is. That word is a destroyer of minds of numbers of American blacks that continue to keep using this word, the ones who do. It is destroyer of minds, the way that people in other different cultures and backgrounds and ethnicities, certain types of term lifestyle categories, the ones who also utilize this word toward numbers of American blacks as well. Let me read you something of the term, the N word. And we're not talking about the Negro. Talking about the Nigger. And then some people get into arguments about, well, what about Nigga? And then when people say such illogical different things like that, this is what supremacists do when they hear even sometimes numbers of American blacks arguing about this. Because just like I am relaying this myself and I stand by what I say, unfortunately, the American blacks overall only have half a generation to one generation left before the overall complete destruction of the overall American black culture. It's just too many internal problems. It's too many type of super sellouts. Too many. Too much self-hatred that supremacists have made sure to develop and continue to make sure that quite a number of American blacks have self-hatred toward one another. There's too many problems. And the only thing that is going to survive, unfortunately, because the American black culture, or we call it American black culture now, will not go past one generation left. And unfortunately, numbers of American blacks will become cultural POWs. So let me read you a definition of the word, the N word, the Nigger. The N word, excuse me. It is used as an insulting and contemptuous term for a black person. Let me read you again one of the terms for the N word, the Nigger or Nigga, however silly comparison that will be, is still the same concept. This other definition, let me go back to the same definition, used as an insulting and contemptuous term for a black person. And when they hear numbers of American blacks still utilizing that word in social media, still using that word in certain type of not so good rapping, they hear this word when themselves are at the certain other people at different stores, or they may be at work, or they might be whatever function, and they hear some type of American black utilizing the N word. This is what they're doing, and especially supremacists who are the most brilliant mental manipulation force that's ever existed. This is what they are doing. And this is the messed up part. There will be some numbers of even American blacks that would be like, well, I don't utilize that word, so it's not going to be, oh, even for numbers of American blacks. The ones I'm talking about, I refuse to get into an illogical, almost like pre-kindergarten type of argument where certain types of American blacks and some other people as well. It's like my patience level, especially as I get older, is is at negative, uh, no game plan level. Where I'm talking about negative 238 degrees below zero. I refuse to get in such this pre-childish this argument. Of course, it's not going to be numbers of American blacks. That's not going to do that. That's beyond logic. But the system says you Negroes. It ain't about you small percentage ones that like I don't use that word. Well, it's irrelevant. They say still quite a number of American blacks that do use that word. And they say, well, collectively, apparently, y'all are very powerlessness because you can't even stop or reduce down the other parts of the numbers of American blacks that are using this word. You cannot even stop even bad versions of certain types of hip hop from utilizing this word. You can't stop numbers of however numbers of people, American blacks on certain whatever social media that utilize this word. And they're like, well, these Negroes are silly. Because see, you can relay this information over. It's reality-based information. That N word is destructive and is destroyer of minds. Watch this, because you can relay reality-based information, and you'll still have even numbers of American blacks, and especially numbers of ones within predominant-based culture, and some others that will do this.
Sorry, Kevin Bacon wasn't in Footloose. What? Of course he was. No, he wasn't. You lose. Of course he was. He was the star. Nope, you're wrong. Look it up. I don't have to look it up. It's common knowledge. He was on the cover of People magazine when the movie. Everyone knows Kevin Bacon was the star of Footloose. It was a huge movie. He was the lead. No.
So what quite a number of American blacks will do when you present reality-based information. Oh no, I don't want to hear that reality stuff. No, no, and definitely quite a number of personnel within predominant culture that have been generationally trained were sitting there and minimizing black pain. Let me read you that initial definition of the N word. It is used as an insulting and contemptuous, it is used as an insulting and contemptuous term for a black person. Does that sound like an enduring word? Does that sound like constructive based wording? Let me read you another term or definition of this word, the N word, the destroyer of minds. The word ranks as almost certainly the most offensive and inflammatory racial slur in English. That is what numbers of personnel, even within the predominant based culture, and unfortunately, certain numbers of American blacks will do it like this, just chattering, non constructively, and trying to deflect all over the place, not really listening and understanding what is going on in this American black pain type of system toward American blacks, not the sellouts, not the gullible ones, not the ones that are so beyond, that do such childish behavior. Not those, not those at all, because they are irrelevant to any constructiveness within American Black culture. See, it is an insult when a person or personnel know what I'm talking about. And there are personnel within certain parts of Padam's culture and there are other ones who will know that the American Black culture historically has had the most powerhouse achievements in America's history. There is no comparison of any other culture, background, ethnicity, creed, parts of a term lifestyle category, whatever genericality in the terminology of immigration groups, border breaking type personnel. There is no body that compares to the historical powerhouse of the American blacks. What other cultures, backgrounds, ethnicities, certain type we want to call native personnel, certain whatever numbers of term lifestyle category. What other group again who's had the most inhumaneness for generations put upon them? Who's had the most lynchings? Who has had the most laws and policies put against them and still generations later still get no reparations and dare not say that ignorant tactic of saying, what about the Native Americans? Because again, you get your feelings hurt because how many Native Americans also put numbers of American blacks in enslavement? Try again. Because then somebody say, well, well, Native Americans were there were numbers of Native Americans that didn't do that. Try again. Well, how many numbers of personnel from within the Padam-based culture can be like, well, we ain't got nothing to do with removing numbers of Native Americans from their land. See, that game is that play that game with somebody else. Let me read it that the second pseudo definition again. The N word. It ranks as almost certainly the most offensive and inflammatory racial slur in English. And there are still numbers of American blacks that are still using that destructive word. The destroyer of minds. And so when numbers of other cultures and backgrounds and people that just arrived here on a Johnny come lately basis or Susan come lately basis, and then some of them that use that word, you know that's embarrassing and insulting. And then you got some numbers of personnel within the Padam-based culture that got the silly, ignorant nerve to be like, why can't I use that word? You're talking about mental illness. That is some true mental illness, not some genericality now that is again what supremacists have deemed we're just going to use genericality to describe in general stuff to deflect away from people, a number of the personnel's personal accountability. Not talking about someone that truly has some real, unfortunately, mental illness. Not talking about that. The thing about see the American black male is the most hated in this country, the most hated, the most criminalized, even though the American black male doesn't even come close to being the number one person, number one male, number one, this person in general that commits the most crimes in America. That is that is the male within the predominant based culture. But again, on the flip side, the number one male in this country that they like to show buffoonery and lazy is what the American black male.
Down the street and everybody was trying to wake me up like they was knocking, rocking, socking, and rebopping. Why I have such a dream like that? I ain't bothering nobody, just busy in my own business, doing nothing.
This is the way they look at the American black male. And so, how many numbers of personnel within certain parts of the Padam-based culture and some other ones, they'd be like, hey, look at that N word. He's lazy. The definition I just read you is used as an insulting and contemptuous term for a black person, used as an insulting and contemptuous term for a black person. And the word ranks as almost certainly the most offensive and inflammatory racial slur in English. So, does that sound like, oh, this must be a super loving word? Does it sound like an inclusive word? Does it sound like a people of color word? Does it sound like a minority word? And again, supremacists, they're sitting there, they see this kind of stuff, and here are these numbers of American blacks sitting there fighting among each other to sit there and argue down about whether this word is, argue about this word. Well, it's not as bad as people try to make it seem like it. Well, if we reclaim the word, it takes the sting out of it, basically. And again, this is what supremacists is doing. Because again, they understand that American blacks overall have half a generation to one generation left before the overall complete destruction of the American black culture. Let me sit there and show you this. There's a couple of things I want to show, and also additionally, and with this is in mind, I want people to keep this in contact, in thought pattern. When you the definitions I read of the N word are some definitions used as an insulting and contemptuous term for American black person, and the word ranks as almost certainly the most offensive and inflammatory racial slur in English. And I want you to keep that in mind. Let me play you something. Give me one moment here for a second. Give me one moment. Does that sound like this person, again, the face of black? Did that sound like that there was a term of lovingness to some other American blacks? Let's play this again. Supremacist love, seeing a black male say that word, because this is how they look at American black males overall anyway. This is how they look at American black males, like this is how they look at black males, American black males overall anyway. So the thing about it is when they hear numbers of American black males, and unfortunately, more numbers of American black women are utilizing this word on social media and however types of certain types of we want to call hip hop, bad version hip hop. However, those American black women, and I'm talking about legal age, they use this word out and about as well. and adjust legal age numbers of American black men, black women, more and more using this word in front of other personnel within the Padam-based culture in public, again in social media. Man, that's sickening. Again, the N word is destructive. Man, it's destroyer of minds. There was a story about how there was American black male, and whatever he was taking care of, it was relayed that uh, he came across some American black youth. They possibly can be in high school or something like that. And so as he was going past them, and he heard them utilize the N word, several of them. And the story goes, he stopped and say, "Could he ask this question? Could he ask a question to the young black males?" And they said, "Yes." And he said, "I heard y'all use the N word. I just want to ask the question. No disrespecting anybody, just asking the question. What makes the ones who use that word, what makes you use that N word?" And they looked at him and they were like, they don't know why. They don't know why. That they were saying that N word. Keep that in mind as well. When I'm about to show something else here for a second. About to show something else here. Oh, remember, oh sorry, excuse me. Hip hop is one of the top two genres on this planet that people it's one of the top two genres of music on this planet that makes the most amount of money, that have so many people trying to emulate, think they try to pick up the nuances of what they think is cool in hip hop. Now keep that in mind when I show this. No, excuse me, that's not what I want to play here.
And the night jam, no use. The way I rock is so smooth, so deep. Hitting on the stove, the boys OG. OG. My heat is unlimited. I've been betting to miss the Jewish.
Did you hear that little word in there? Let me play it again.
And the night jam, no use. The way I rock is so smooth, so deep. Hitting on the stove, the boys OG. OG. My heat is unlimited. I've been betting to miss the Jewish.
This is what, again, numbers of personnel also within certain parts of the Padam-based culture do, and other personnel when they also hear certain numbers of ones within the Padam-based culture utilizing N-word and being sneaky about it. The insultingness of that, how there are personnel within certain parts of Padam-based culture who want to try to emulate what they think is black slang, a black swag. And the thing about it, that person can overall go back and stay within that person's culture relating to externalism. See, that particular woman can sit there and do what they think is some kind of hip hop and use an N word, and then you can get tired of it. And still, the other personnel within their culture overall will look at the external factor, never knowing that, oh, that particular woman within the Panamese culture, was doing this kind of hip hop and use this N word and stuff like that on the slide. Now, there are also very stragglers within certain parts of the Panamese culture that it has this externalness, where they try to cut their hair a certain way, or get their skin a little bit more. I don't know. There are things that they try to do where it pick up the way they talk a little bit, where they think it's some kind of black swag or black swagality, right? There's women within certain part of Panamis culture, you know who they are when you listen to how they talk. And there are certain numbers of males within Panamis culture who know who they are, that grab up the hip hop and utilize what American blacks have created, and also utilize some N words in here, a little bit here and there, a little bit, and or the way they dress a little bit, thinking they're swag black, and they can grow out of that stuff and go right back to maintaining as far as racial category personnel within the Panamese culture. But numbers of American blacks still don't get that concept. Now, keeping up with the topic, remember the topic, the destruction of N-word, the destruction N-word, the destruction N-word, destroy your minds, used as an insulting and contemptuous term for a black person, and the N word, the word ranks as almost certainly the most offensive and inflammatory racial slur in English. Keep that in mind as well. Keep that in mind as well. Give me one moment here.
Oh, damn. You ain't very big, are you? No, I'm not. No, you ain't. And you acting like a big one. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to use your language and everything like that, you're going to go to jail for disorderly conduct, okay? Okay, I won't say another cuss word, then. Okay. 22, 14, 15. You got your hand on your side by your gun. Is that illegal? No, it's not illegal. Do you have a problem with it? Yeah. To do something about it. You don't want me to. Do it. You don't want me to. You'll get away with it. It's just me and you right now. Yeah, it is just me and you. Yeah. I go to jail, my.
Did you hear that last part? Let me play that again. Give me 1 second. Let me play that again.
Backup gang. Is anybody else here? Ain't nobody here right now. Me and you. Just me and you. Take your gun off. Take your badge off. Take your taser off. Take your shit off. Take your clothes off. Why would I take it off? Because then it's just me and you, wouldn't it? Go ahead. If it's be me and you, then bitch. Me and you. No. You got your shit on. It's just me and you. Yeah. That's what I thought. That's what I.
I don't know if it played that a second time. I must have missed something. Let me play this one. Let me play this one last time again on that. Let me play this one last time again.
Oh, damn. You ain't very big, are you? No, I'm not. No, you ain't. And you acting like a big one. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to use your language and everything like that, you're going to go to jail for disorderly conduct, okay? Okay, I won't say another cuss word, then. Okay. 22, 14, 15. You got your hand on your side by your gun. Is that illegal? No, it's not illegal. Do you have a problem with it? Yeah. To do something about it. You don't want me to. Do it. You don't want me to. You'll get away with it. It's just me and you right now. Yeah, it is just me and you. Yeah. I go to jail, my. You got your little backup gang. Is anybody else here? Ain't nobody here right now. Me and you. Just me and you.
Did that sound like a term of endearment from that person within the Panamis culture utilizing that word? You already said my N word. So among however numbers of person within Panamis culture that use that word among each other, don't even know why they even use it. Well, it's because some no black folks use it. What they got to do with that person using it? It is a destructive based word. And unfortunately, there is numbers of American blacks that are sick from generational black pain. That this system of supremacy, the most brilliant mental manipulation force that's ever existed, will not and will never try to sit there and give some type of justiceness on the correctability of that, not only with reparations, but some type of corrective justice with other parts of it. The American black person overall needs some kind of cultural counseling, the ones who understand that. Let me rephrase that. There are quite a number of American blacks don't even realize black pain is among millions of American blacks, irregardless of somebody's title, or they have a business or nice size home, great size apartment, whatever it might be. That don't mean jack crap in this system of supremacy. How many times have you seen or heard somebody having a professional title, professional background job, a great business, certain actors and actresses, et cetera, that have been reminded? That tells you something already. So unfortunately, the American blacks only have half a generation to one generation left before the overall complete destruction of the American black culture. I'm going to show one thing. I'm going to show one other thing for a second. Give me one moment. Let me see. Can I find it? What I'm looking for. Let me find that. I think I found it. Give me one moment here. Give me one moment. Here we go. Did you hear that? Another group of personnel from some type of Asian background, not even in America, but in one of the Asian countries, utilizing that word as well. Or it's other people. There are numbers of Hispanic people, the ones I'm talking about, who use this word. There are numbers of personnel from the continent, the ancient continent, not the same type as the modern day continent. There are certain type of personnel with certain types of islands, the beautiful islands, but there are also sellouts among them as well. There are ones that have sit there and try to pick up what they think is black slang as well among themselves, and how many have used the N word as well. The N word is a destructive word. It is destroyer of minds. But what was the definition or definition I just relayed over? It is the N word used as an insulting and contemptuous term for a black person. The word ranks as almost certainly the most offensive and inflammatory racial slur in English. And you still got numbers of American blacks that are still using that word, the ones I'm talking about that do, in social media, and still versions of not the best hip hop among even certain one of their friends within certain parts of Panama's culture or some other culture utilizing that word, and sit there and also among those same numbers of personnel, the ones I'm talking about, and they'll be sitting there using it toward American blacks. You're talking about some sickness of that.
Peace, perhaps on your side, Maximus Scum. Yes, but not on ours. Permit me to inform you that an enemy which appears to be peaceful may in fact be merely biding its time.
This is News for Nashville.
I called him the N-word. I ain't gonna lie.
An elected official in Sumner County admits to calling his next-door neighbors a racial slur on camera. And now his biracial neighbor says he should step down from office.
Our chief investigator.
Let me play it
This is News for Nashville.
I called him the N-word. I ain't gonna lie.
An elected official in Sumner County admits to calling his next-door neighbors a racial slur on camera. And now his biracial neighbor says he should step down from office.
Our chief.
The N-word, used as an insulting and contemptuous, used as an insulting and contemptuous term for a black person. The word ranks as almost certainly the most offensive and inflammatory racial slur in English. But still, you got American blacks, modern day more or less, the ones I'm talking about, that don't even realize the insultingness the ones who utilize that word in music and social media, among numbers of their wink wink friends, among personnel within certain parts of Padambe's culture, or it could be certain parts of Asian culture, certain parts of uh, Hispanics, certain ones within Africa, certain ones within certain islands in the Caribbean. I'm talking about the ones who utilize that word. It is insulting that the American blacks allow this stuff to continue to keep happening. But at the same time, numbers of American blacks who are the most historical, again, powerhouse in America's history to go through what they continue to keep going through, the lynchings, the extreme anti-blackism, the most racially hated, the most laws and policies put against any other culture and background, et cetera, et cetera. And even a certain parts of Padambe's culture, no one can compare. No one can compare. And it is an insult to the great foremothers and forefathers within American Black who sit there and many lost their lives. Many got beat down with batons. Many got sit there and chewed on by bad seed dogs, by numbers of bad seed personnel that practice brutality, racial brutality. Ones that have lost their lives behind the hands of the Ku Klux Klan and other type of racial hatred terrorism groups. The ones that had to be segregated had to go to a college that's predominated by blacks because numbers of blacks couldn't go to numbers of colleges where predominantly based culture was going. Numbers of American blacks that got chased or still are getting chased out of certain type of neighborhoods in this country. No one compares to the magnificence of the American blacks and achievements. No one compares to the cultural pain as American blacks for generations with no reparations. And this N word is very destructive. It is demonic. And I can easily be like, oh, we need to get rid of that word. We need to get rid of that word in the society. It's not. It's too ingrained. But the thing about it is, can it be reduced? Perhaps. The only thing I'm relaying over, it is a destructive word. It is the destroyer of minds. It is destroyer of minds. And I wanted to show one last thing. And even among certain personnel within certain parts of eternal lifestyle category. Now, what I'm going to show you, because it's still not talked about enough either. Let me show you something for a second. Even though the N word is not going to be used, there are certain type of attributes that people don't have to even say the word, but their actions is almost like utilizing the word, because this is also what happened to numbers of American blacks so many generations, and even still in the present time, how many times this still happens.
To suffer with. There's demons, bro. You can't even talk. Look at that. There's a demon, bro. Oh, shit.
That was hatred. That is almost like a secondary utilization of the N word without technically utilizing the N word. Salivating upon numbers of blacks or toward American blacks is a sign of hatred, especially toward American blacks. And you still have American blacks still thinking that, oh, this person that might be within certain parts of the term lifestyle category. How many of certain parts within certain parts of the term lifestyle category show hatred toward American blacks? How many personnel within certain parts of the term lifestyle category have used that word and use that word as well? So it's not a one section or that section or this section that don't utilize this N word, or a secondary non-verbal N word usage, but the actions can be contributed to a secondary indirect N word actionable outcome without utilizing that word. Because it's like if they could have utilized that word, and who knows if they didn't utilize that word when they was doing down the street. But again, let me sit there and show you one last thing again. No, I'm not going to do that. The point is that I've showed you a couple of different videos. Did those videos seem like they were showing terms of endurement of the N-word usage? Does it seem like that was talking about that was all talking about loving us together, black folks together, when other people utilize the N-word? American blacks only have half a generation to one generation left for the overall American black culture of survival. It will not go past one generation. And the only thing that the remnants will be is cultural POWs. And it does not matter that there are numbers of American blacks saying, I ain't got time to think about that. That's irrelevant. Because just because that section of individuals do not care, who cares? It's never about that. It is about a collectiveness. Now, individual, as far as doing a thing for what they do, that's fine. That's fine individual-wise, but collectively, it's not individuals that people look at. They look at collectively and think that's what American blacks are overall. The N-words. But you better not, known as American blacks, and even some other cultures, you better not sit there and say something toward another culture that have a no comparison slang or derogatory word. And the people know I'm talking about from different backgrounds and different cultures and ethnicities. They know who they are, that there are words that they use among each other and other cultures and things like that. They know who they are. But American blacks better not utilize those kind of words. But at the same time, but that destructive N word, the destroyer of minds, is allowed by certain numbers of American blacks, by certain numbers of ones within the Padang-based culture and other different groups and backgrounds, etc., to utilize that word among in front of numbers of American blacks, the ones that are allowed to do that. And then again, when certain ones within the Padang-based culture and other groups and backgrounds and certain types of alternative lifestyle categories, when they hear American blacks utilize that word themselves in music, in social media, to each other, in public, they shake their head and they say, boy, those Negroes don't even understand. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP.